again. So, a little bit of a different intro. I was working in the background trying to get the new streaming setup completed. It's not there yet. We're in progress though, and I would flip to show you how it's going to look. However, if I do that, I will break it the thing that we are currently using to stream on. So, let's not. Also, let's move the microphone away from the fire hazard. I have a almond croissant or crescent. What's this croissant candle burning here tonight? Just as a side quest. And also, I will admit today I was offline for quite a bit, working on a couple different things, and I would like people's input because I want to review potentially here in the near future how accessibility impacts comic book expos as well as vendor and craft shows, because something that was a big part of me getting to this point in my journey was going and doing craft shows. I've mentioned it in past streams, probably way too often, that I used to sell soap. I also sold artwork. So vending at those shows and having a assistant that was legally blind was a very interesting experience. And today, for some odd reason, I think I was scrolling on TikTok potentially. It might have been TikTok, it might have been YouTube. But I ended up sitting and hyperfixating on about a good, excuse me, 2 to 3 hours worth of information on what had happened at GalaxyCon as well as SakuraCon, and debating on if I want to do that potentially as a live stream series. I still keep saying, oh, I'm going to sit here and edit all my past videos. I just need to sit and figure out how to do that effectively and efficiently for me. But some of the things that happen there, because I try to look at everything with the as objectively as I can. Obviously, I have personal ties to people that it's like, well, if I tried to do SoccerCon in Seattle, some of the things that were happening, or even GalaxyCon, which is closer to home for me, it's up in Columbus. I heard about them zip tying someone's walker. I could just imagine someone zip tied a person's cane. How are they going to be able to navigate the con if they don't have to use elevators and they don't have a guide dog and they don't have other accessibility tools with them? They're using that as their primary means to get around. And it takes time to learn how to use canes. They aren't just, oh, you know exactly what you need. No, you don't. You have to. I know here we have like organizations to help with that. So it's sitting heavier on my heart. But here's the thing, and I've said this in the past, I have Ashbury Art, which is going to be more about website building with a high focus on making sure that websites are accessible to people, which is why tonight we will be continuing with the personas of individuals. And I know that we had started off with, well, last week we did Lexi, Driv. Maria, we did not get to. I feel like Stefan, we did do his. Elas, I want to do everyone's story. I don't think that we got to Lakshma. Ian, it says I clicked on him, but I don't know if we actually. Yeah, we did do his because of the pop out ads. Obviously, Sophia has to be added in. So we'll finish up those personas. But please let me know, would you be interested on my take for SakuraCon and GalaxyCon as someone that has vended at small craft shows and vendor shows? I know mine did not nearly hit the numbers that those did, But I also have thoughts about the whole, well, this is a lottery system. I mean, just a little sneak preview. I did go ahead and look at their website, and we've obviously been discussing stuff. Now, given when I looked at the website, I was at the gym, so I was using a tablet, which will be a different experience. However, excuse me, it still says a lot about the platform itself. And it's similar to Cincinnati Comic Book Expo, which I've been there as an attendee more times than I've been there as someone that, well, I've never been to there. So I will say I even looked at their website too, and there are some issues with accessibility. However, you typically know, because I am from around here, I do know about the convention center that was hosted at least in, I think it was 2025, 2024. There's too many convention centers. So because I'm local to here, I know those layouts, so I know the accessibility because I had to. However, not everyone knows that information and it's not listed on their website. So, just quick overview. They're talking about the different like this was not up there earlier. I'll be completely honest. Hotels are open, but it's concerning that it's saying 2024 when we're in 2026, and then they have pre-registration 2026. I just don't know if I want to get into this tea and drama. Just going on their page. Also, maybe they have more details on Facebook or Twitter. Actually, that's interesting that the website is still saying Twitter. I know that this is all a volunteer run. And that's a whole nother interesting perspective to me that they're saying they're volunteer run, a 501c3, and everything else. It it all just reads very intriguing. So I could see doing a whole series. I don't know if I would do a full stream. It doesn't happen until April 3rd. Try and think the next time I'll have a day off. I might have a day off on March 2nd, potentially. So maybe I will do a live stream. I just don't know if I want to do it here with the business side because technically I can go into the background of it and everything else and do a real deep dive. Or I could do it on Ashley Unravels, which is my other YouTube channel, as well as TikTok stream where right now I'm crocheting a blanket. And I also go on Twitch, but that's more of the crafty side. However, I do want to promote like social justice, good nonprofits versus nonprofits that are questionable. So it could fall under both. So I may try to do an unbranded live stream altogether and just see what happens with it. This one I know though has less people that come into the stream, so it's less likely to have the text to speech. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. We'll figure it out as we go. Okay. But back to our users. Who are they? So here is Marta, who is a marketing assistant that is deaf and blind. Because, yes, you can have multiple things that are going on where you're not able to function and use things the same way that others do. So, Marta is a marketing assistant who was born profoundly deaf and is now progressively losing her vision. For her, she can magnify her computer screen in order to see the content, but as her eyesight continues to deteriorate, she will need to learn new ways of interacting with the computer. Marta is smart, learning Braille, and hopes to use Her new Braille display for reading, writing, and navigating applications. In addition, the Braille display continues, or sorry, includes some often unused. In addition, the Braille display includes some often used apps such as a calendar, email, or notes. This will be handy for whenever she is away from home. Marta is taking classes in fashion design. Ooh. And knows she will need to discuss her unique needs with the college since she will likely need class materials to be available on her Braille display. That is interesting. And I'm proud to hear that Marta is doing what she's doing in order to make herself not feel as closed off. Because I will say, as someone that saw someone age that was losing their vision slowly but surely, it can be a terrifying thing. Because one day you go from being able to see things as well to blurry to darkness, and that's a mentally scary thing to have to deal with. So I applaud this person for going through a struggle that was not of their own doing. Okay, well, we won't keep going into my depressing background, and we'll proceed with captions so that we can listen to more about Marta and how she's using these tools and technologies.
How people with disabilities use digital technology. Marta, a marketing assistant who is deaf and blind. Hi, I'm Marta, a marketing assistant at my school for the deaf. I'm deaf-blind. I was born deaf and have progressive vision loss, which means I can still see things if they're large and up close, but I see less and less each year. As a deaf child, I learned sign language early on. This is why technology is so important to me. It allows me to communicate with more people. At home, I have a computer that can enlarge my documents up to 20 times. I have a big screen, but can still only see a very small portion of the screen, and an even smaller portion of the documents because it's like looking through a magnification lens. I can find my way around documents with headings and sections that look different. For example, this briefing sheet uses a color for the headings that is different from the main content, which makes it easier for me to recognize them. Oh, and I'm learning to use Braille too. Braille are those dots that you read with your fingers, and I have this really cool device called a refreshable Braille display. It's a small device that I can take with me everywhere, unlike my computer. It has apps for email, web, and chat, and some have a special keyboard for typing in Braille. I read the Braille characters in a row on the device, which I'm slowly getting used to. It's always difficult to learn to use something new at first, but I'm getting better at reading and typing Braille. But not all websites and apps work well with magnification or on my Braille display. Like when I need to look up the bus schedule to meet up with my friends. That table doesn't work well when I enlarge it on my phone. And forget about trying to read it in Braille. I can't tell what row or column I'm in, and it just jumps all over the place. It makes me nervous because I can't as easily ask for help from people around me while I'm out. So I've been learning how to speak up and ask companies for more accessible websites and apps to help me stay independent. You can help make technology accessible to me. Accessibility. It's about people. For more
And we know that they always say for more information, visit the Web Accessibility Initiative, W3, at the website, which I will have linked eventually. And I also like how they did this display of Marta, because what's to say that someone doesn't start off being blind, but due to something out of their control, they can no longer hear. How does that work in reverse? Yes, they may still have a voice, but if they're hard of hearing as well, that could be a whole another situation where they learned Braille already and stuff, but they're not going to be able to hear communication in the future, and they already are legally blind, and let's say it's complete blindness, not, oh, I can see things if it's put up close. I didn't think about that in reverse, to be quite honest. So it makes screen readers basically inaccessible to help someone that's deaf and blind, or blind deaf, depending on the order of operation that the situation happens. So just something to keep in mind on why it's important to keep things as accessible as possible, because not every tool will work for every person the same way. Okay, let's go over to Elas, who is a retiree with low vision, hand tremors, and short term memory loss. I do have someone in my life that does have hand tremors and was still a percussionist. So, something that you can overcome, but also something that you just live with. And I also remember there is Ryan Kelly on TikTok, and he talks about having an essential tremor. So, yep, let's see. Elas is an 85-year-old retired architect. Over the years, Elas has experienced a decrease in vision, hearing, and short term memory. And he has slight hand tremors. He uses digital technology for all sorts of activity, including staying in touch with family, reading the news, and architecture articles, and ordering groceries. However, using technology can be difficult when he can't use the adjustments he needs, like when sites and apps don't allow increased text sizes, require clicking small areas of the page, and make him type information with each visit rather than store it. See, cybersecurity will say that's required, but other people will say it's annoying. And on top of that, for him, it makes the experience way more difficult than what it needs to be. So let's go ahead and get started and see if I butchered this poor man's name.
How people with disabilities use digital technology. Elias, retiree with low vision, hand tremor, and mild short-term memory loss.
Hello, I'm Elias. I'm a retired architect. Life moves slower now that I'm retired, and I think my body does too. I see less and hear less than in my younger days. Also, my hands shake a little. My children live far away, so we see each other online instead. We also write to each other and send pictures. It's so much easier and quicker than going to the post office every time. My trouble is all this small text. Why do they write it so small? I know how to make the text size bigger, but it doesn't work with all websites. Sometimes everything seems to break down. The text overlaps or goes somewhere else or disappears completely, or I have to scroll sideways to read. I don't have the time and energy for that. It's the same with apps. I made the text bigger on my mobile phone. I can't see without doing that on such a small screen. Most apps work well, but not the banking app. The text on that app is still small, and I need to use it to log into my bank account. I already called them several times about this, but nothing happens. It's not only reading though. When the text is small, all the buttons and links are also small, sometimes tiny, especially on forms where you have to click and select all these things. It's hard with my hands. They don't behave like they used to. Our grocery store now has an online shop, which is fantastic because I don't have to carry all the shopping anymore. The text is big and it has big links and buttons. It just seems clearer and easier to find things. Everything is where it should be on every page. Usually, I have trouble remembering things like the telephone number, address, and credit card details. This store remembers from before, so I only need to select the right address in the text field rather than needing to type it each time. I wish all websites could be that easy. You can help make technology accessible to me.
Accessibility.
And that's true. We can make society more accessible for everyone. I will say, even though it is broken, I use basically Bluetooth mice on everything. I do have my touchpad, but it's just easier, even for me with accuracy,
It's about people.
to use a mouse over trying to use a mouse pad when it comes down to design and things. And also there's hotkeys when you're streaming. That would be an example of accessibility tool. Yeah, sure, I could go on to OBS, which is what I'm using to stream right now, and click on everything using my mouse pad, but it's easier for me to do it here. Or I'll even say, I'm not going to turn it around, but my computer screen, I think, is a 16-inch. I am using a 22-inch screen on one side, and I have another 22-inch screen on the other. Now, are these older TVs that converted to being computer screens? Maybe. But still, having a bigger screen helps. And even in like the living room, how everyone's like, oh, sports, I want to be able to see them on the big screen. There is a reason it makes everything more accessible. There was something specifically that he said with banking that hurt me a little on the inside, because I know he probably has been calling his bank and thinking, oh, they're going to update the site, they're going to update the site. Now, given the site is probably more updated than what it was before. Hey, Jen. But sitting there and trying to use mobile apps for banks, yeah, no. They have to go through a whole chain and hierarchy of stuff. And I'm also curious now, since I do have SoccerCon pulled up, I may be doing it myself to see how their website functions. I'm just curious, what happens if we zoom in? This is unexpected. Oh, the navigation disappears. And it goes to the left. That's good. But even still, just imagining someone like, okay, they had the underline to do that. Why is there this one? I am not going to fully review this website tonight, no matter how much I am craving to do it. Because this question, or this website has left me with more questions than answers all day. There's a whole section on here that I'm highly confused about. Oh, well, did I just break the website by zooming out because I didn't collapse the menu bar beforehand? I did. I was not trying to do that as an example, but that's what happened. Can I fix it? I can totally. I can fix it. We fixed it. Yes. But yeah, that's just an example of Eli's struggle that he probably would have if he was in the UK and wanted to fly over to Seattle to go to SoccerCon. So, didn't mean to give a good example, but there it is. Okay. And then let's go over Lakshma, the senior accountant, who is blind. Oh, there is no video for this person. So, let's see. Lakshmi is a senior accountant who is blind. She relies on a screen reader to announce the content in the software she uses at work, and she uses a standard keyboard to enter commands to navigate and enter information. Recently, Lakshmi's company migrated from desktop software to online applications, some of which present barriers for them, such as when images don't include alternative text or shortcut key conflicts with screen reader commands. Other sources of frustration include multiple levels of navigation, nested menus, forms that don't make it clear to the screen reader what fields are meant to contain, and a visual captcha with either no or poor audio alternatives. Oh, if you've ever tried to do a captcha with audio, it is interesting. I have done it before. when McDonald's was doing the Monopoly stuff, I decided, oh, I'm going to go ahead and attempt. Thank you for all the lights. I was going to attempt to do the alternative entry method. Yeah, I mean, I got a good amount of free food, but a part of it was you had to do the captcha every single time. And for some odd reason, sometimes it would say that I was not real. So I did try to do the audio captcha and type it in. It's not fun. I mean, it's trying to verify that you're not a robot. I'm thinking maybe I am a robot some days. But that's a different existential crisis, or whatever we want to call it. They She really likes using her mobile phone and tablet because the built-in screen reader functionality plus their portability when away from home. She can find directions, pay for things, and keep up with her family and friends via email and text. So I would say, even if she was going through this, I don't have my screen reader on, obviously. But, okay, I do see where this is flipping around, but I don't know if you all can see it. The way that this tab is working, it's only because I can see down in the bottom right hand corner of my screen, which is very tiny for you all. Let me try to zoom in using weird methods. But, oh, my face is cut off. No. Don't worry about the man behind the mirror. Get this back. Get that back. Cut this so that it's not on my face. Thank you. Okay, is that more zoomed in? You sort of can see it. It's at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You'll see there's a green box that says soccericon.org. So whenever I'm pressing the tab button, if it wants to work, yeah. If you look on the bottom left-hand corner, it's saying twitter.com. So I'm assuming that's what it would read out. However, you cannot see the thing moving at all on the screen. Like right now it says it's over host and travel. That should be highlighted or changed so that someone with a little visual impairment would be able to see. But you can't. Now it's highlighted because I pressed enter. I just was guessing. So yeah. Again, not trying to sit here and do a usability test. It's just I have the example, so we'll go ahead and use it. And let's see. We got 2 more people to think about. Again, this is just a small sample of all the individuals. There is 99 problems. There are over 100,000 disabilities. But just to give an idea and give a vision of what people look like, where the first half they had more what I call invisible disabilities, where looking at someone face to face, you wouldn't be able to tell something. Versus now we're going into Adi, for example, who's a reporter with limited use of his arms. I believe this one was more of a visual one. They all still matter, and we should be striving to make the world more accessible for everyone. So Adi is a reporter who has limited use of his arms. He's had several strategies for navigating websites, including his palm to operate a joystick, using one finger to press keys on the keyboard, which allows him to move up and down on the page and tab from link to link, and more recently using speech recognition. All of the methods, well, that's accidentally more accessible on my end too. Because now you can actually read it a little bit more. All these methods, however, have drawbacks. When using the joystick, it's hard to click on small targets, such as placing the cursor between words or at the end of a sentence. When using the keyboard, it's sometimes hard to know which page element has focus. Plus, the order of the links often doesn't match. what he sees when looking at the page. Oh, doesn't match what he sees when he's looking at the page. Speech recognition has promises, but involves a whole new way of working to someone who is used to typing. So that aid can switch from one method to another. It's important to make sure the links and other page elements have visual focus indicators and match the order that they appear on the page, and that the content flows correctly when the site is zoomed in to make everything appear larger. And let's go ahead, and I am going to try to reset this. Nope, didn't work. Give me one moment for some technical difficulties as I try to resize the screen in the background so we can actually watch the video of him. There we go. Close enough. Bigger captions and mute so that he can talk.
How people with disabilities use digital technology. Ade, reporter with limited use of his arms.
Hello, I'm Ade. I'm quadriplegic, which means I have limited movement in my arms as well as in my legs. The technology I use is really important to me. I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts, especially for the programs that I use often. For example, scrolling a page is much easier with the arrow keys on the keyboard than by clicking on that button in the scroll bar. Unfortunately, many websites and apps don't work well with my keyboard. Often, what has focus isn't clear or jumps around completely out of order. Sometimes that doesn't work well because some websites and apps don't work in landscape orientation, which is how I set up my tablet so that the buttons are big enough for me to click. While I can use a keyboard and joystick, I can't use them for long periods because it's tiring. So I recently started using speech control software as well. It allows me to dictate text instead of typing and to say certain commands instead of clicking. It's really hard to learn a new way of working after so many years, but I've been patient with it and I'm slowly getting used to it. The most difficult thing is buttons without labels. It's not clear which voice command would activate them. You can help make technology accessible to me.
Yep, I'm calling a place out here. So, where I read my Reddit stories is normally on my tablet. And as soon as he said it, he's like, oh, you can't turn the landscape. Guess what? Reddit, I'm calling y'all out. Why does this not want to position correctly? And if someone's going to say, oh, well, it's just because you don't have the app downloaded, I would take my Canva program. That is also right here. That has our starting screen for the stream. Guess what? I can turn this sideways. It works. So it's not everything, but yeah, it's 2026. Reddit, just calling you out. I'll keep using it the same way, but that's for me. That's not for someone like the gentleman that's on the screen where he needs it because that's the way that he experiences the world. So I'm just saying. Tablet people. And then finally we have Sophie, who is a basketball fan with Down syndrome. Sophie, a mother with Down syndrome, works at a basketball stadium. She would like to be a senior assistant, but is hesitant to apply because she will have to learn new websites and softwares that may not have been written in a language she can understand. For example, using unfamiliar words as well as acronyms and abbreviations, which is fair. Because have you ever heard some sports people talk? I do watch basketball. I do watch football. I have seen hockey. But every single one of those sports has a different language. Just saying. So she's not alone there. Okay. Um, as well as acronyms and abbreviations, consistency, writing in plain language, and having small paragraphs of information all help Sophie comprehend written content outside of work. Sophie likes to take her kids to basketball games and has found, excuse me, it has found that buying tickets using the Venue app is easier because there are fewer options and less clutter. I agree, potentially. Let's go ahead and hear Sophie's story.
How people with disabilities use digital technology. Sophie, basketball fan with Down syndrome.
Hello, I'm Sophie. I have Down syndrome. I love basketball and I played on my school team and now I work in a stadium. At work, we use an app for our team. It has a calendar with all our practices and games. My job is to record scores and stuff like that. I can also use it to chat with the coach and with the players. And we used to exchange photos and jokes too. Sometimes I take longer to read things, but this app is really easy to use. The event or name of the player is at the top, so I know where I am in the app. The calendar is also very clear. It shows the name of the month or the number of the week at the top too. Other apps we tried are too confusing. I could never tell where I am and how to get back. The biggest problem is buying tickets for games. I try to use this app for buying, but sometimes I have to use other apps to get tickets. Some of these apps are too hard. When I click on something, it goes somewhere else or opens another page. Or it doesn't have the blue box at the top, so I don't know where I am and how to get back. Sometimes it takes too long. I have to start all over again. It's a real pain. I wish buying tickets could be easier. My dream is to become a senior assistant. I know I can do it. Sometimes it's hard for me to write long things, but I use the spell checker every time. It helps me when coaches use words I already know. Otherwise, it takes me even longer to find the words in the dictionary. You can help make technology accessible to me.
Accessibility.
And I think that was a good one to end on because also she's talking about her passions and everything else. And while I was sitting here, I mean, obviously. Okay, I think I'm just going to go ahead and cover this on a Monday separate stream altogether about SakuraCon 2025 and just the history of it because it kept popping up in the stream. But I would say, because I was looking, not saying I would be interested in going, but this whole entire process here has got me confused because memberships are valid for all 3 days of the event. Your membership is valid for all 3 days of the event, and we do not sell single day memberships. You must pick up your badge from registration during those hours to be able to attend the event. They must have updated this because the way I was reading it earlier today, it was saying that memberships are not for attendance or something like that. But outside of that, I could think of a couple of places similar for Sophie where people get frustrated. Listening to anyone complain about Ticketmaster and trying to get BTS tickets. Listening to people talk about getting tickets from places where there aren't people that are pirating tickets. So you see, accessibility hits us at all different levels in all different ways. And the way that it's phrased and the fact that you had to have tutorials of people that give you guides in order to get through the experience, that's not necessarily a great experience to have for anyone. But that concludes all of the stories of the users, I believe. Yep, all the personas that we have. So, up next, because I had a notion and all of a sudden that tab is closed. And this stream went quite a bit longer than the last one did. I don't know why it keeps finding me out of Notion. That's an interesting detail. Very interesting, inaccessible detail. However, on our scheduling hub for next Monday, we're going to talk about the quiet barriers that they face. So we're going to actually do a deep dive into how to work around so these barriers can either be minimized or removed from websites. Actually, hold on. This is talking more about the source of them. We did the perspectives videos. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do next before I log off for the night for next Monday. Okay. Oh, I think we're actually in the WCAG guidelines for 2.2. This is definitely getting more into the weeds, which is where I want to go. How far do we want to go down the rabbit hole, Alice? Hmm. OHA says this is not a complete list of all accessibility requirements. Because I was in between going here next. I don't like using AI, but it was right there. So it's 13 guidelines, 4 principles, 3 levels. At a glance, 2.0, 2.1, and 2.2, which was recently published. I am thinking that starting next week, now that we know who we are designing for, it's what is being designed that is next. So the introduction, there's probably someone else that already, because I see that there is a YouTube video here, I think. Yes, a couple people have already done crash courses. I'm just doing it in my own way. Is this just published or updated? The version, editors, abstract. We're going to slowly start. Okay, it looks like what I'm thinking is we'll start with the understanding. Is this still saying the understanding? We're going to start on the overview and just start working our way down. So episode 4, now that we've established who they are, going through the guide. And this is going to take time. It's going to take time, which is fine. It'll be kind of like a study class where we all just do it together. So that is all for now. I got to go, and I thank you all for tuning in on TikTok. You also follow me on YouTube. LinkedIn, I do have a page as well. Look forward to streaming and showing you guys the new setup. Probably Tuesday I'm offline. Wednesday I'll be back online again. We'll see if I can get it set up on Tuesday. Just depends. But for now, have a good night and bye.